and then he had to do another 3 hours, and then he had to go on a train to another part of Tokyo all the way up to the north, and I forget exactly where, but somewhere in the north, and then he has to work another 2 hours. He doesn't get home till 10, 11 o'clock, and they're paying him peanuts. I mean, they're paying him basically every month. These guys are lucky to get 200,000 yen. I mean, that's nothing. That's peanuts. That's drinking money. So, tough times ahead for the Tokyo English industry, and I wonder what's going to happen to all these kids that come over and think they're going to make a lot of money. Some of them, of course, do, but only a handful of people. And those people have been around for years and years and years. I mean, they've been here as long as I have. So, I wonder if you're an English teacher here in Japan, or in Tokyo, you tell me, Tokyo Joe, on the forum. There's a post there about it. There's lots of posts about it. We should start a new one. But I want to hear from you. What are the stories about teaching English in the Tokyo lands? And tell me about the funny stories you got. I'm sure you got quite a few. All right. Well, peace to all the English teachers. Without them, Japan wouldn't be speaking English. Right, time to talk about my good friend Daddy CHOO. Now, this guy's got a lot of press on the internet, a lot of public places. A lot of people on the internet like Daddy CHOO, go to his site. But there's a lot of people now, the haters are coming out against Daddy CHOO, and I see a lot of that. And it's kind of interesting because what does this guy do? Well, it's pretty obvious the guy has a lot of money. And people with a lot of money don't always have a lot of friends. But who knows about Daddy? He's got an interesting side. He likes his anime. He likes his little figurines, little plastic figurines and little skirts and everything. Now I have to tell you, when I was a little kid, I went around to a friend's place once, and his sister had a Barbie doll, and she offered me, "Would you, Tokyo Joe, would you like to play with my Barbie doll?" And I said, "No thanks." So what I don't get is how a man who's 45 years old can, for example, play with little plastic figurines and has so much interest in little figurines or little plastic skirts and little boobies. How does that happen? You know, it's kind of interesting. He's obviously a guy with a lot of computer stuff too, which is kind of cool because, you know, you gotta have the computers these days. Without them, you ain't got nothing, right? And he's got a real tricked out space, lots of stuff. If you want, you can go to his website and check it out. But I tell you what, you really got to love those little plastic figurines. Otherwise, what is there? And this is kind of interesting. I want to know from you, the people of Tokyo. Do you know this Daddy CHOO guy? What's he like? Maybe we can get him here on the show here with Tokyo Joe. That's me. Maybe we can interview him and ask him what he's all about, because I don't really understand it. What I see is a lot of traffic going to his site, which is good. But what I don't get is how many adults do you know who collect plastic figurine dolls? Because the ones I know go out and find them in bars. The real fascinating story with Mr. CHOO is he's not actually Japanese. You can tell from his name, he's actually from China. And actually, he's from, not from the mainland, I believe he's from somewhere like Hong Kong or Taiwan, I don't know. But he's actually not a mainland Chinese, and he's doing quite well here in Tokyo town. So, what's going on? What makes a guy from China want to live in Tokyo? What makes a guy like Daddy CHOO want to collect plastic figurines? Let's get behind the mask. Who is the real Daddy CHOO? What's going on in that little head of his? It's a big head, actually, because have you seen it? And it's like big. There's a lot of ideas. He's a good businessman. He's got a lot of good stuff happening. But has he got a realistic understanding of Japan? Has he got a realistic impression of the real Japan? If you spend all day, like some people do, inside your basement on your computers, looking at the plastic figurines, looking at the animes, looking at the pornos, do you really have an idea about Japan? To what extent are you allowed to interact with Japan if you're not Japanese? To what extent are you allowed to interact with the Japanese if you're a Chinese? These are the interesting things. And I wonder if anyone visiting Daddy CHOO's site, as an example, would actually think this is what Japan's about, when in fact it's not really what Japan's about. It's kind of interesting to see what people's impressions of Japan will be after they visited Daddy CHOO's website. And he makes an interesting comment on his website. For example, he has a post there called Why Japan Sucks. This is a guy from China, mind you. Why Japan Sucks. We all have our days, you know, Danny. We all have our times where we don't like Tokyo, where we don't like Japan. But gee, coming out and saying why Japan sucks, that's pretty strong. But he talks about a few things like lack of non-smoking areas in restaurants, and you know, the films always come out last. You can't actually have any films that come out in time. He talks about stuff like that, but that's it. He doesn't talk about anything else. I didn't see anything else. So I don't know if that's actually a reason why Japan sucks. Just two reasons like that. I mean, movies come out late. Well, it doesn't matter these days because, you know, people are going on your website and watching them. And the other thing, non-smoking restaurants, well, that don't matter either because, you know, there ain't nothing wrong with a little bit of tobacco. I mean, if you got to work in those conditions, it's pretty tough. But if you want to go to a restaurant and just enjoy a meal, there ain't nothing wrong with being in a room separated from other people. The people you're with ain't smoking. I don't see a problem with that. I don't think that's a reason why Japan sucks, Mr. Chu. But then again, I guess you got a lot of traffic to your site, didn't you? That worked. So let's discuss Danny Chu here on the Tokyo Forum. I think he's a topic that's interesting. He's a modern enigma. He's a man about Tokyo. He's certainly one of the big figures of the gaijin community here in Tokyo. Is he really a gaijin, or is he something more than a gaijin? That's the real question for the forum, because it really is a phenomenon. How many other Danny Chus will there be in our lifetime? That's the question. I mean, how many other rapping, dancing stormtroopers will there ever be? Even if Harrison Ford came out in a stormtrooper outfit in the middle of Shibuya, I don't think there'd be that much attention paid to it. This Danny Chu guy's got that down. So what I want to know from you people is, what do you think about this Danny Chu? What do you think about what he's doing? What do you think about his ideas? Don't visit his site unless you want to, but I want to know what you know about him off the top of your head. What do you know about Mr. Danny Chu? Interesting guy. Japan Today reports that in 2010 we had more foreign tourists in Japan than ever before. Now, this is interesting. 8.61 million with an M tourists in 2010, and that's up 27% roughly from the previous year. They say it's because of an economic recovery and a resumption of fully fledged flights at Haneda, but I don't know if there was a recovery. But the government actually targeted a bigger figure, 10 million. So they want a lot of tourists here. 10 million is quite a good number. The Japan National Tourist Organization, JNTO, said the rate of increase was the second biggest year-on-year rise in the last 50 years. In 1970, there was a 40% jump when the Osaka World Exposition was held. This is number 2. This is a 27% jump, roughly speaking. Among the 2010 total, South Korean visitors made up the highest number, 2.44 million. That's quite a number of Koreans, and that's good. As far as I'm concerned, they can all come over to my apartment, of the good-looking ones anyway. Well, China supplied 1.41 million and a guy called Danny Chu, and that was helped by the relaxation of visa regulations in July 2010, which made it a lot easier to get to Japan. Taiwan came in number 3. 1.27 million Taiwanese people came to the land of Japan in 2010. And they all went shopping. All right, number of tourists from France, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, etc. also reached record highs. You know, we want those French people to come over. That makes Japan real good. Come over, French people. We like you here. We like